Well, as you can see, there's a lot of different things here. I'm not going to be using my crazy grinder and all the different things. I'm actually only going to be using the tools I brought in my bag when I went on vacation to make my cup of coffee. And I'll price it out so you guys know, but this is a great starter set for anyone who wants to make coffee. And I got a little bit of an update as far as what's going on here moving into the next season and all that good stuff, as well as how things are going to look, because I finally have good clarity on all of that different stuff. So first things first, let's talk about what this brewing method is. I'm going to get rid of my normal scale. I'm going to go down to my tiny scale. This scale is, forgot the name, but this one is going to be $30. This is an AeroPress Go, not the standard AeroPress, but the AeroPress Go. This is a small little brew kit. This right here is, I believe, $40. And then I have the little filters that come with it. So I'm gonna grab one filter like so, and we're gonna go ahead and close the filter case. This is just a little cap that you can put on the bottom of this if you would like, whatever you want. And then we're going to place the filter in here. And I'm gonna do seal it shut, and anything will do, anything. We're just gonna wet our paper right now and just start right there. And then we're gonna get into our hand grinder, which is 14 clicks for this recipe off of 0, and talk about a little update to what's going on with the channel. Well, I'm back in the saddle. I'm back in the swing of things, and I'm back understanding the reality of all of my situations, so to speak, of everything that's going on. And the first thing I'll say is I'm excited to be back in a more normal schedule. Saturday I posted a video. Sunday, yesterday, we went live and streamed, talked about gaming backlog, had some good conversations, as well as played some Skyward Sword, started that. I actually have a question for you guys. Can you help me figure this out? Can or should I play Skyward Sword just on stream here on the channel, or should I also be playing it off stream on, just in my free time? And the reason why I ask is because I currently am taking a little bit of my own medicine, and that is I want to make sure that I finish all of the games that I have in my backlog for my Nintendo Switch before new Nintendo hardware releases. Now I'm going to grind this and we'll skip ahead. All right, all done. Now this is, I believe, the Timemore Chestnut C3. I don't know, there's all these different names for it, but this one, again, it'll be linked below. This is a very, very good grinder, and if you got this grinder and are following ahead, that was 15 grams of coffee ground at 14 clicks from locked up, seized at 0. And what we're gonna do here is, again, we're gonna pre-wet this. Now, as far as water is concerned, all you gotta do is have a tea kettle. Boiling water will do. That's all I did at my parents' house. They don't have a gooseneck kettle like this. They just have a normal tea kettle, easy peasy, and this comes with a cup. So after I've drained this, right, you just want to rinse out that paper filter so there's no gross paper filter tastes. And then this was sitting for a while and I noticed it was wet, so I want to make sure that I have rinsed off the sides of this. Good. We should be good at this point as far as rinsing this thing adequately, and then we'll be able to get our coffee going. This again is the AeroPress Go. They have a standard AeroPress size, which is just a little bit bigger than this one. The AeroPress Go is just smaller and better for compact use. So I've got this water that I don't need anymore. Put that down on the ground. Got a little bit of a mess here. Thankfully I have a rag. I don't love this scale specifically. You can buy any scale. You just want to make sure it has 10th gram. It's not 0.5, it does 10th. Calibrate. I don't love this because it makes a lot of sounds, a lot of beeps, a lot of bleeps. Let's go ahead and turn it off and turn it back on again, and you should be good to go. Good, we're there. Beep again. Again, the beeps are kind of annoying. We'll dump our coffee in. But let's get into our update here, what's going on. And before I do that, I'm going to tell you right now that it is 15 or 14.9 it says, but it's 15 grams of coffee, and we're going to be doing 250 grams of water here. So here's the beep for the start. Let's just fill it all up, making sure to cover all the water. 250 grams. So I have been back since Friday evening, and My wife took Joey, our daughter, to go hang out with some of her cousins, and I was left at home with the boy. And he's been a little bit under the weather. She's been a little under the weather. I've been a little under the weather. And the big things that I've taken away from that is the time that I want and the time that I need to do what I thought I was going to do, just different now. And so I'm trying to assess. Now, this is the big thing, right? We're going to go ahead and seal it, push down just a little bit, and then come back up to create a vacuum seal, and it should not drip anymore. It's vacuum sealed shut there. And so back to what I was saying, I have noticed that I just don't have the time that I wanted to make some of the more produced videos and do stuff like that, but I value these conversations I've been having. We're at 1 minute now. That's one nice thing is audibly I know we're at 1 minute. When it's at 1 minute and 30 seconds, you'll see what happens next. These conversations have been so great and talking about different video game things, and I've realized that moving into the next big chapter of this endeavor, I've been looking for focus, looking for ways to figure out how I want to go about doing this stuff, because it is very, very challenging at times. Spin, 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 and we're good. Now at 2 minutes, when it beeps, we're going to press out. I also am a professional video editor, of which I've been doing for a long time, and that's my day job. Well, as of the beginning of this year, I have had to make a decision, because now that my wife is full-time back at work, I am a little bit more confined on my time. I don't really have the same amount of time I used to. And so I find myself in a position where I had to make some pretty serious and thoughtful and careful decisions. This came with a tremendous amount of prayer from myself, my family, my parents, friends and family who also were praying alongside and with me for this. This is a very, very scary decision. And the decision was, well, one of two things. And I think we should maybe sit down for that. So let's start with decision number one. Decision number one was to maintain the course, continue editing videos. I have built up a little bit of work there, and I was doing that consistently over the course of the past few months, few years, actually not few. So decision number one, I've been a video editor for a few years now professionally. I have a very big client, and then I get a little work here and there. That's my day job. I make not much doing this, but the time requirement that it has and the specificity of my work requires me to get jobs done at a deadline that now with my new schedule became more and more difficult. And it was a very tough realization that I was not able to meet the deadlines that I used to be able to meet because I was still working on this very, very channel. See, this video can go one of two ways. It can be the one of me telling you that I have to stop because I have to pretty much say that it wasn't working. Or I'm going to continue, leave my editing work, and devote all of my creative efforts in this field, risking it all in hopes that this does pay off, because I feel like God has led me to a space in which I can help others with this, video games. And I am pleased, but also terrified to say that that's precisely the decision that was made. Again, with a lot of conversation, a lot of prayer, and a tremendous amount of weighing the options here. Now, that being said, what does that look like? Well, it looks like I have to, as I guess it was Admiral Piet says, double my efforts. I don't know if it was actually Admiral Piet.
We shall double our efforts.
But double my efforts. I have to quadruple down. I have to hyper focus. I have to do everything I need to do to make this work. Because as of January 1st, 2024, this is it. How do I plan on doing that, you ask, especially with my new schedule? Well, originally I wanted to do some very, very big things. I wanted to build out a PC and test all the different consoles and try different big projects. But I'm realizing that those aren't the things that I'm going to be able to do right now. There's no way I'd be able to do that right now, not with the given situation and the time constraints I have. Instead, what I can do is this very thing we're doing right now. These conversations, these nice, relaxing talks that are therapeutic for me and fun for me to have with you guys, with the different friends that we've developed along the way, the plant, the lamp, all these silly things. And I like doing this, not just because it's sustainable for me, but also because it feels right. It feels like we're actually making a difference here, all of us together, trying to create a better community of gamers. But alas, we come to a crossroads. That crossroads was focus. How can I focus? I was having such a hard time doing that. I was having a tremendously hard time focusing. And it's not just because of the increased caffeine intake that I have decided to do with all these different coffee cups. Promise you I'm drinking responsibly. I have no more than 2 cups a day because I've done more than 2 cups a day. Honestly, my stomach hurts more than I get the jitters. And this is a 15-gram cup, right? Much smaller than a normal 30-gram, half at which I normally do. So we're fine here. But the focus question. How do I focus? In order for this to work, I have to be playing in the field that I want to be playing in. I have to be able to weather a storm that may be coming. I have to be able to devote my energy to something that I find fascinating, exciting, and ever more comforting. And with much deliberation and potentially not making the best decision, I understand that it's going to come at kind of a cost. I've had to divert some of my energy from other things. One of them being my lofty goal of building out gaming PCs. That was something that I thought was going to happen because I thought I had more runway. I thought I'd have more time this year to kind of juggle both, but as of starting this year out, I'm realizing I don't have that. So the PC build is going to have to take a back seat. It doesn't mean that it's not going to happen, but it does mean that it's going to have to wait. It also means that my energy and my attention to other things like PlayStation, Xbox, Steam Deck is going to have to take a hobby seat. A very, very minor role in the grand scheme of things. And I know I left out one major one, and that's kind of what I'm getting at. And that is, in order for me to properly sustain my energy and properly sustain this very thing, I have to be wholly interested in what I'm talking about. And to be honest, since I've been home, I've wanted nothing more but to play through my Switch library, to pick up some of these books talking about Super Nintendo and Game Boy and some of the older games that existed on those consoles and play those. I just recently purchased an Anbernic RG35XX Plus. I don't know, there's so many names. Anyway, an emulation little guy, so I could play through some of the older titles I was playing on my SP, but the SP, the battery is kind of wonky, so I just wanted to play it on a device that had better battery and better display, and most of all, I can turn it off and play it again. I already own the games. I just was like, I'd rather play it on this, and it's much cheaper than getting something like the Analog Pocket. I am so unbelievably inspired by Nintendo, and I've talked about this before. I've done this before, and this is a growing process for me. And with the first off, the name change, JDX Coffee, JDN Coffee, which is it's all it is. JDX Coffee is just JDN Coffee. The X there is for and. I don't like underscores. I didn't want to use an ampersand. I didn't want to try to find a different way. I didn't want to put the word and. The X looks cool because I'm a hardcore kid at heart, and X is what you put in between everything. So JDX Coffee is just, I use that for JDN Coffee. This is me and coffee, but more importantly, I'm just a father trying to get through and navigate this gaming space. We play video games. I play all video games on all systems, but what I want to talk about and prime myself, and if I'm being honest, be ready for the eventual onslaught of information that's going to eventually be there over the next, hopefully in the next 6 months with new Nintendo stuff, is I want to be there for that. I want to be a part of that conversation, and I want to learn more and dive into that more and more. And that's kind of where I'm at with a lot of this. again, I've gone back and forth, and I know that all I have to do is make Xbox videos to please the algorithm, but if I'm going to be doing this all in, and if you're going to be doing this with me, you have to be doing this with me for who I am. And I'm a dad who has fallen in love with my hobby, that hobby of playing video games. And to be honest with you, I look at what I have, and I'm very, very fortunate and blessed, but I look at it and I say, there's a lot of abundance here. I'm not going to go off and sell anything because I've made that mistake 100 times over. But what I am going to say is, in order for me to focus, I have to stay in a lane for a little bit. Okay. And so I'm not saying forever is what is what's going to happen, but in order for me to ramp this up and to make this work, I'm going to have to be where I'm passionate. And I think that when it comes to passion and when it comes to pursuing something, the most important thing you can do is, first off, have balance, but also pursue something that you find to be interesting. Put yourself into something that you find to be worthwhile. I'm not marrying myself to a company. I'm not saying that they are the best, because they aren't. None of them are better than the other in the grand scheme of things. All of them are companies trying to provide a service at a cost, and that cost will then cost us money and then benefits them, and they make profits and go on and so forth. They are businesses, right? And so they're running businesses. But I enjoy the business. I enjoy the Nintendo thing. I really do. And my plan, in order for me to get through this and hopefully generate enough here, is to, plain and simple, make a cup of coffee and talk with you guys daily. That's my goal, okay? We might miss a day here and there. I'm not promising, but my goal is to do that because I enjoy it and I need it. That's one. And two, the other thing that will exist in this space is I'm going to try to enjoy some of this backlog live here in the evening times when the kids are asleep and I'm winding down. In the mornings you'll get a cup of coffee, and in the evenings we'll get some tea and hanging out. And that's pretty much what it is. The only schedule I can stick to is the morning cups. You're gonna want to be in Discord and subscribed to get notified when I do go live so that you know, because often it changes and I can't set a schedule because I don't know what's gonna happen and I don't know how it's gonna change. And so honestly, as it stands now, I'm not going to stick to a streaming schedule, so you're just going to need to stay locked in for a little bit. If I hope in the next couple of weeks I can choose one day, and that's the first thing that I can do is like one day a week. It's going to be this, always this, but I can't promise that that's going to be the case. If I'm thinking off the top of my head right now, that one day a week is probably going to be something like a Monday. I don't know though. We'll have to figure that out as time goes on. The best thing you can do to support the channel, honestly, the best thing is if you're gonna buy something, use an affiliate link that helps me, and subscribe and like and share the stuff. That is free things. Someone asked in the chat yesterday, hey, can I do a super chat to you? How does that work? And I said, hey, that's very great. Super chats are like tips. That feels great. Super thanks are like tips. All that's appreciated. It does go to me. But the best thing and the easy, or the cheapest thing you can do is just like and share this and get as many eyes on it as possible and make Google pay me. Let's do that. If we can grow this thing big enough and get enough traction, get enough people watching and being a part of the community, your watch time and just watching this actually contributes to my family. That's all. YouTube will pay me. They'll take care of the bill. And so all I need is your help. Get eyes on this. The goal here is to generate excitement around video games, playing them with each other, staying positive in this space, and sharing the passion of video games with each other. I'm choosing to do that in the Nintendo world because that's where my life of gaming has started, and that's where I want to be right now as a father and a husband and someone who plays video games outside with my kids in the living room. I don't sit around for long periods of time unless I'm streaming. I just don't have that luxury. So I'm having to give up and let go of a huge part of my gaming life, right? My gaming hobby, because my family takes precedent. But Nintendo makes it possible for me to continue playing video games the way I want to play video games. That, for me, deserves attention. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is coming out at the end of February 29th. I want nothing more but to play that game. a lot of it, and I'm going to purchase it and play it. But I'm having to rethink that approach, because realistically, sitting down and playing a game like Final Fantasy, where it takes a lot of investment, playing a game like God of War Ragnarok, playing games like those, the investment that's required to hop in and stay involved is tough. Even with games like Tears of the Kingdom, at least in those games, hopping in and hopping out is very, very possible, which I'm thankful, because when it comes to playing video games as a father and a husband, it is so challenging to find time that is not selfish, that is not taking away from my responsibilities. And often it's 15 to 30 minutes at the end of a day, and I just don't have the mental capacity to continue down the road of playing some of these crazy, insane, awesome AAA titles like I used to, now that my family's taken the front seat. I'm hoping that this resonates with people. I'm hoping that you understand that. And moving forward, I'm excited to do more cups. I think that it's going to be Monday through Friday with Saturday, Sunday off, so that you guys who have been watching the cups can catch up if you want to be a part of the conversation, because it's going to be continuous. And I can tell you that there's a side project that I've started mentally, and now, since Nintendo is going to be something I'm trying to focus more, mainlining and stuff like that, I'm going to pursue this, and you guys can travel with me. PC's taking a back seat. This is taking the front. My goal is to be able to acquire, whether it's monetarily or through gift or through just finding, all of the Nintendo consoles that have existed in the past. I first want to try to acquire each one that is individually, they don't have to work, they can be broken, so that I can take them apart and personally make shadow boxes like I've seen in the past other companies do. That's my goal. Once I've done that for all of the consoles, then I'll start acquiring ones that work, and then from there we can go on from there. That's the ongoing project, to build out my Nintendo Museum of Dream, and to learn everything from NES to next gen. That's the challenge. JD Coffee, Nintendo from NES to next gen. That's the final announcement, and that's all I am capable of doing here in 2024. And so if you're along for the ride, cheers to you. I got barely any of this coffee, but I'm under the weather, and the thought of drinking a full cup of coffee right now doesn't sound the best. Although that tastes really, really good. I'm still not going to finish it. All right, guys. This will never change. Happy gaming.